Look, I'm sorry for the delay here, but whenever I tried to watch the Democratic debate, I got depressed somewhere down the line and I had to stop. Anyway, let's explore. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Freedom Alternative. Now, after the Republican debate, quite a few subscribers took the time to email me, message me, or tweet me, or whatever, with requests to make a video about it. Now, I resisted the temptation to fulfill the request by arguing that it would be better if I would wait until the Democrats hold at least one debate. The rationale wasn't in the interest of fairness or whatever other nonsense. I don't purport to be fair with communists and never have. The rationale behind the decision to wait was that after the GOP debate, there were still some unknown variables on the leftist aisle, and more importantly, after the GOP debate, I might have been tempted to judge some elements of the right against others, which is something that I'm not generally shy of doing, but in this case, it can and indeed should wait. So anyway, the Democratic debate came on a Tuesday 13 day, and whilst I believe superstitions are utter nonsense, there must have been something wrong in the air, because the whole circus was depressing. Now, before saying anything else, it's fair to let everyone know what I'm looking for. Given that I am not an American, I only care about two issues when it comes to the presidential race in the United States. One, who has the most coherent policy when it comes to the threat posed by Russia, and two, who upholds capitalism and free markets the most, in this order. The Russia point should be self-evident for anyone not brainwashed by Russia Today or Pravda. My parents live just 250 kilometers westwards from where the Russian tanks have recently been moved to. The only thing preventing those from moving forward is the US-led NATO alliance and the fact that my country is, for now, the only one in the region with widespread support for the United States. I would like to preserve that, thank you very much. As such, any candidate that wants to take a European route, like the President of the European Commission, Jean-Claude Juncker, who recently said we should all try to make friends with the KGB-trained dictator of Russia, is to be viewed as ignorant and dangerous. With that in mind, it also becomes rather self-evident, or at least clearer, why the Dem debate was depressing to me. Now, whilst I did expect the debate to have a little coronation bias, because let's face it, the debate took place at CNN, which is owned by one of Hillary's donors. But I did not expect the debate to be so pathetic to the point of being depressing. Whilst rightists ate each other out for even the mildest flip-flopping, on the Democrat side, flip-flops were greeted with applause. Now, leftist apologists say that politicians are and should be allowed to evolve and change their positions over time, depending on the world around them. Now that's fine and dandy, but how much is too much? Because, you see, not all issues are equal and not all changes are equal. Where does evolution stop and being a pandering twat commences? Is there any limit to such thing in the leftist mind? Or does the end justify the means? Now, it's one thing to have Lincoln Chaffee, or Chaffee, whatever, going from being the most leftist Republican in recent history to being a moderate Democrat. He didn't change too much. I guess that's what he meant by being a block of granite. But the target of crowding Miss Clinton made quite a few U-turns. Not to mention the amount of doublespeak that she practiced, to the extent that she managed to surpass Hussein Obama by over 9,000. Do you remember the times when Miss Clinton was criticizing Hussein Obama for not respecting the American gun culture? I do. And I was surprised to encounter Americans who don't remember that. It's amazing how short the political memory has indeed become. When campaigning against Obama, Miss Clinton had no qualm in crapping on a so-called victim of gun violence and uphold the American gun culture. Last week, Miss Clinton tried to out-socialist Bernie Sanders on the issue of gun control. Isn't that quite a big change? I mean, it's one thing to change your mind on gay marriage, an issue that is utterly irrelevant at a federal level since marriage is mentioned exactly nowhere in the Constitution and the enumerated powers. But it's entirely different to change your mind on one of the fundamental values and liberties of the United States, namely the Second Amendment. Yet for some reason, no leftist presses Hillary on this issue, whilst the cathedral media, or the Democratic media complex in this case, has no qualm in holding Sanders to account for his past positions on guns. Now, mind you, I'm not defending Sanders here. I believe he's a filthy commie and by far the most dangerous individual in both parties. But if you're going to hold a debate, then bloody make it a debate where the hard questions are being asked. Now, there were two other candidates that I didn't mention so far, Mr. Martin O'Malley and Mr. Jim Webb. Now, O'Malley managed to be more boring than Jeb Bush, and I thought that's not possible. Or if it was possible, I didn't think the man who taxed the rain would be the one succeeded in outpacing Jeb Bush in being boring. Yes, I know, the leftists complain that he didn't actually tax the rain. Yeah, I know, he imposed huge levies on parking lots because it rains on them and carries the dust into rivers or something like that, and pollution, and that's bad. Which pretty much amounts to taxing the rain. But then again, the leftists know damn well that once their policies are being put in plain words, most people object to them, as happened into O'Malley's state, which now has a Republican governor who, at the very least, doesn't freaking tax the rain. As for Jim Webb, I am surprised that they even allowed him to step on that stage in this spectacle where the rush to be as far left as possible was, the bread and butter. As I said in other videos, the term conservative Democrat no longer exists. The term liberal Republican still exists, although that one is losing traction rapidly in favor of the term moderate Republican. However, on the left, the term conservative Democrat was replaced with white cishet bigot, and that's a problem for Mr. Webb. In fact, most of Mr. Webb's problems do indeed stem from this fact. He doesn't believe in affirmative action. He doesn't believe in white privilege. He doesn't believe all cultures are equal, and he knows a thing or two about the military and about diplomacy, and unlike Miss Clinton, he has a net positive track record to prove it. His other problem is that he doesn't speak the language of the pop culture. For instance, when he was asked to speak about Benghazi, he started doing something that politicians no longer do today. Namely, to first and foremost explain the phenomena that led to the issue and then provide an answer and then the solution he would implement if elected. Sadly for him, this is not how politics works nowadays, not in the US anyway, and especially not with the Democratic base. As a result, the leftist media either ignored his answer or noted it as Webb's weird China rant. Now, say what you want about the media, but in this case, they're absolutely correct. The average Democrat voter didn't understand anything from Webb's position. Speaking of the media, the general coverage of the debate was a freak show. Whilst the viewers think that Sanders won the debate, the headlines are all about how Clinton was in charge of the debate and just swept through everyone. And this is a problem. It shows that the Democratic media complex is completely disconnected from its base. I mean, look, nobody in the GOP establishment likes Donald Trump, but even so, the right-wing media didn't try to sugarcoat when the results showed a clear victory for Trump. Sure, they expressed disapproval and whatnot, but the right-wing media was at least honest about who won the debate and tried to analyze what went wrong that allowed Trump to win. Also, the right-wing media did not hesitate to throw the establishment's candidate, Jeb Bush, that is. They didn't hesitate to throw him under the bus, just like they didn't hesitate to criticize the winner. On the left-wing media, I see no serious criticism of Clinton, not to mention the chronic refusal to even admit that Clinton freaking lost the debate. Sure, the Daily Kos tried some critical analysis of Clinton, but frankly, that's too little and too late. It's also a huge problem for Clinton that she lost in front of a raging, angry, sanctimonious Bolshevik whose sole argument is free stuff for everyone. Of course, the fact that there aren't enough 1%ers to pay for all that, even if you'd go full communist and confiscate 100% of their wealth and income, that's something that's even less spoken about in leftist circles. The reality is that Clinton didn't just appear inauthentic. She appeared like a robot programmed with the right thing to say and nothing more. To make things worse for the die-hard leftists in the Democratic base, Sanders made her a nice gift by white knighting for her on the email scandal topic when he said that the American people are tired of hearing about your emails, or something to that effect. Just like in economics, Sanders is out of touch with reality though. The on-the-ground Democrat base does care about the email scandal. Maybe not to the same extent as the Republican base, which tends to be a lot more concerned with foreign policy and national security, but a damn is still given in the Democratic base on this issue. Do you know why? Because your everyday Democrat voter is not a progressivist ideologue, but an average Joe who would like his country to maintain some relationships with other countries, and the email scandal flies right in the face of that. Not to mention that it questions the competence of Miss Clinton. Because let's be clear, the email scandal is a problem not just for Americans, but also for several other nations who entrusted their classified material to their ally, who at the time was represented by Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. The media and the DNC are trying really hard and succeeding so far to shield Hillary from the tough questions and from exposure. Every time Hillary Clinton speaks, her ratings go down. So it is indeed in her advantage to speak as little as possible and have as few public appearances as possible. And those few appearances should be in an environment as controlled as possible. So far, their plan is indeed working. But will it work well enough until the caucuses and the general elections to carry her to victory? That's a question that Democrats need to ask themselves, because Hillary's problem now is not with the Republicans, who already hate her guts entirely anyway, but it is with the Democratic base. The Democrats didn't have their own Tea Party moment, and the DNC is a lot more disconnected from its base than the GOP establishment. Whilst many will not admit it, at this point, the Republican race is far more interesting than the Democratic race. And on the Republican aisle, it's not a competition on who is the most far-right, which is something that I may not like, but it's something that the general public does indeed tend to appreciate. You know, I've spoken recently to a few people who've told me they'll vote Republican for the first time in their lives, and these are people in their late 30s and early 40s who have consistently voted Democrat since they reached the age of majority. Also, unlike 2008, there is no visible group of people who rush to vote Democrat for the first time in their lives. Anyway, there's still another year until the elections, and a lot of things can and indeed will change throughout this time period, so it's still a bit early to start making predictions. But as things stand, voting a Democrat is, quite frankly, objectively insane, given that the two who stand a chance of winning the nomination are essentially a pandering, flip-flopping liar and a Bolshevik. That doesn't sound good at all, even for the leftists. Okay, that's enough for this topic. So what do you think? Have I missed something from the analysis? Am I being too harsh on the leftists here? Also, if you are a leftist, leave the hate, please, in here. At least I'll be having fun, just like the last time when I offended you. So with that being said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you around at Freedom Alternative.